Welcome to Connected Media IP, the signature destination at NAB show, helping organisations deliver connected content experiences. I'm Bridget Nzeku, and I'm delighted to be joined by Michael McEwen, Director General of the North American Broadcasters Association. Michael, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, Bridget.
Tell us what has caught your eye at NAB this year.
You know, there has been a feast, right? I mean, it's just almost information overload. But there are some themes. One is IP television.
The future of television?
Well, IP, and then leading into the future of next generation. And when we talked about next generation television, it was always ultra high definition and better high dynamic resolution, HDR, and that's still happening. But now people are talking about making that happen on an IP platform. Whereas maybe a year or two ago it was sort of in the future, down the road, 4 or 5 years. But now we're talking about actually redoing plants so that they're all IP production plants. They become IP platforms so that you shoot, ingest, edit, and then distribute using the IP platform. And that's a huge turnaround over the course of a couple of years. And so you walk around, you see that part of everybody's stand. And of course that then leads you to the next obvious conclusion. IP, it leads to connected media. And connected media is, we're talking about traditional television, hybrid television, television on demand, television on tablet, television on mobile, and all of the little companies that are here with their ideas for software and programming you can put in, make this happen. And that the obvious thing to me is that it's creating a whole new startup industry.
I mean, there are so many new market entrants, many of them exhibiting here at Connected Media IP, and it's a very exciting time, isn't it?
Oh, it's really exciting. Now, not all of them are going to survive, because the big players like Imagine and Evertz and Cisco down the hall here, they're big companies. But somebody may have an innovation that they'll buy. Or they may have an innovation that they can stand alone but will be supported by a bigger organization.
But that's a sign of a really healthy industry, isn't it, with lots of new ideas?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, 5 or 6 years to the recession in 2008, 2009, everybody's saying, the industry is. I mean, what a turnaround. And then you bring the big change, which is ultra high definition, whether it's 4K or 8K.
Something that many of our guests in the studio have been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, it's a huge screen experience. It will change the way people, watch certainly event television, whether it's sporting events or music or whatever, or high quality drama. And that, we're sort of a year or two short of actually starting a mass market, change towards that. Technology's getting better. It's getting cheaper, which is good for the broadcast community. But we're still at the pre-implementation stage. And so what you're doing is you're getting indications of this show about what it's going to be, how it's going to be, and where it's going to go.
Let's talk a little bit about radio. There's been a big focus on TV, but tell us what your thoughts are.
Well, it's interesting, and for those of your viewers that are watching this that have a radio background, there is a revolution going on in radio, whether it's in Europe with digital audio broadcasting or DRM, or in North America with HD radio. There is a movement now from analog radio to digital radio. At the same time, as there are streaming radio services and applications like TuneIn Radio or whatever that people can tune into their station wherever they are in the world. And I noticed on the show, all of these services are front and center, and people are talking about, well, how much is it going to cost me to convert? And how do I have multi-platform delivery of my service? Because most radio is rooted locally. It may have national, services, but it's expressed locally.
Yes.
And so how that expression comes to changing the nature of their relationship with the audience, it's as big a change for radio as the next generation of television is for television. And it's going to change the way people use radio. For example, think about the next in-car dashboard. You'll have a radio, but you'll have an application that'll go with it. And streaming, that'll give you traffic on the screen, and it'll direct you to where you're going. I mean, it's very exciting times. So if you're a commuter, you can pick the way you want to go to work to avoid the traffic. And they're now becoming commercially viable, and they will soon have mass market application.
Let's do a bit more future gazing. What do you think the key themes are going to be now in the next 12 months in the run up to NAB 2016?
Well, I think all of the software development in terms of making the connected world easier to connect, if I could put it that way, and transparent to the consumer is going to be a lot of the work that's going on. And I think inside broadcast organizations and those companies that are vendors that sell to them, they're going to be talking about creating some transparency so that once you get into the IP world, you get file formats, right? And each application has a different format. Well, that's a nightmare when you're trying to produce, ingest, and then distribute all of this. So we're going to be talking a lot in the industry, I think, about how we can be transparent between file formats so that we can read across the metadata, so that it doesn't take 5 people to redistribute 10 pieces of information, but it only takes 1 or 2 people. Because right now it's very complicated. And so we're going to be working very hard over the next 12 to 24 months, to take the complication out, to make those workflows easier, which creates better transparency to the consumer, whether that consumer's television or radio. And I think you're going to see it reflected in this show and other shows like it, and of course the big consumer show in January as well.
Michael McEwen, great talking to you as always. Really interesting to hear your analysis of NAB this year and what we can look forward to in the coming months, and we hope to talk to you again.
Thank you, Bridget. It's great fun.